Hey everybody, it's Prajesh here.
And Tane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou everybody, welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. Today's just me, Tane is away and doing something pretty exciting as always. And as always, whatever I put into my basket of knowledge over the last week or since we last recorded, I think the biggest thing that I have put into my basket is that the concept of bias, and the inherent bias that is out there, but also the visceral response to bias that is out there. And this comes through what happened recently with the announcement of the new CEO of Air New Zealand and the reaction that had. It also got me thinking it's very easy for me to say things, but also got me thinking about my own bias. And we all have our own biases. And, it's easy for me to call people out, but also got to call myself out. So my question, I guess, for everyone listening out there is, what are your biases? And are you open enough to actually acknowledge them and address them? Because sometimes it's easy to call things out, but not easy to call ourselves out. So that's my piece of knowledge over the last week, which has got me thinking. But it's not about me today. Today, I'm very lucky, very privileged, and very excited to invite our guest. This is someone that I connected on a couple of months ago on LinkedIn. Again, LinkedIn seems to be my common thread. And why I think this person is really interesting is because when we connected and had a chat a few months ago as well, was just the vision they have, the experiences they have, but also how they want to change the way people look at international students specifically, but also the way people look at how when you come in with your own talents and your cultures, how to stand in your own confidence. Because sometimes we find that when you come from different places, you lower your own reality. But actually, hey, let's own that. Let's bring it up and let's show the world who you are. And there's a lot more depth to this person that we're going to uncover over the next 45 minutes to an hour. So it is my privilege to welcome to Baskets of Knowledge, Pratishtha. Welcome to the Baskets of Knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you, Prajesh, and really nice to be here. I've listened to your earlier sessions and very informative and very insightful. Before I begin, and I'm glad you shared this, what's happening right now, but before I begin, I want to start with just one thing that everyone needs to keep in mind, that judgment and curiosity can never be in the same room, right?
Yeah.
And we, as migrants, we often face this bias and we're constantly judged, no matter how well we do, it's always being judged. So yeah, and I've been in New Zealand for almost 13 years now, and every profession, every job that I've had, I've faced racism. And that silent look, that raising of eyebrows, rolling of eyes, it's very common, but we tend to ignore it. We have to move on, right? But yeah, I've taken this as a lesson, and I've taken this as an opportunity to raise awareness for our people, for every underserved community. And I'll just give you a big background about me. So what brings me to New Zealand? So one of three reasons I moved to New Zealand. First one was my parents were in New Zealand when I was in school, and they came here to start a new life. And unfortunately, they faced migrant exploitation. So they had to pack their bags and come back within 2 years. So there was a lot of unfinished business and a lot of hurt already there that, no, I'm going to go to New Zealand and prove that, we can do it better and we can fulfill our dreams. The other reason was I wanted to be a farmer, and unfortunately I did not get admission in agriculture because I had no educational background in it. So I came here to do my master's based on my work experience. And third one was to recover. So I met with a head injury. That was a brain injury, which left me bereft of three senses. So I'm partially deaf. I can't smell and I can't taste. So that was one thing that was like, okay, I need to start afresh. And where else than New Zealand? So I've always wanted to come here. But yeah, back in India, I had a very high profile and a very successful career. So my last role was as a regional director for High Design, which is a luxury brand. And I had around 300 people working under me. And before that, I led international brands like Givenchy, Cartier, Issey-Miyake in India and the Middle East. But after losing my sense of smell, I couldn't do pursue that. So that's like a different life altogether. I have a TED talk on that. So if you get a chance, you can listen to that. So I always say that I lost my three senses and I got common sense. So here I am, maybe the sixth sense, you call it. So yeah, I've been here for so long. And I started my career so when I completed my master's, in business. My first job I got was as a tutor, which was very fortunate that I got my job before I even got my work visa. And my job was working with second chance Maori and Pasifika learners, right? So these learners either didn't have a chance to study, were school dropouts, or come from underprivileged backgrounds with a lot of issues. Some were back from prison, some were just trying to stay out of trouble. So my job was to work with them on building their business skills, and being my first job, you have to, as a migrant, you're like, okay, you have to prove yourself because everything depends on this, your residency depends on this.
Yeah.
And that time onwards, I had a lot of racism happening with me in the classroom. And eventually I realized, and then I myself learned about the Treaty of Waitangi. I took up a course, I understood the Treaty of Waitangi, and I brought that into my classroom. And I realized that these students were racist. These students were calling curry and all these names in the background, but they had no idea about what India is, where we come from, this history of India. And we kind of started doing these lessons around the knowledge about colonization and how it happened. It was just not New Zealand, it was many other countries. It was much worse in other countries. And very interesting that they did not even know that where these countries exist. And history was not compulsory in schools. History is not compulsory in schools. Like till 2023, New Zealand did not have history as a compulsory subject. So there is no way that young people will know, or even older generation would know anything about outside of where they're living. I'm like, oh, this is an opportunity to kind of raise this awareness. And I had a class of, I remember, 19-year-old and 20-year-old girls. So I had around 18 to 19 girls in my class. And they would often miss class on a Monday, Tuesday, because the weekends were very heavy with, all our extracurricular activities. So one fine day, I asked them to do some research on Malala Yousafzai, right? I asked them, tell me let's find out who she is and what is the Nobel Prize. And they kind of got into this conversation. Then they were like, wow, we didn't know that she was shot in the head for education. We didn't know that and we get this opportunity to study. After that, the whole dynamic changed. I had a very good attendance. I had like the highest attendance in class. And since then, I had a very smooth sailing. And I got to be so with these young people, I actually got to be the person I needed when I was young. So I've had a troubled youth. I've had a lot of issues, and I'm a suicide survivor myself. And just getting along and working with this youth was kind of life-changing for me, for myself. Your healing journey, sometimes you heal
Mhm.
by giving. And I said, okay, so I changed my pathway from business to education and teaching. And when I was teaching, I realized one of my students was, she got into addiction and I couldn't get her back, and which led to her suicide, which kind of was very heartbreaking for me. I changed and I wanted to study further. So I did my study in adult education. So I did a postgraduate study in adult education. And since then, I've been in this field. I've become a career practitioner. And I think it's one of the most rewarding careers that I've had. I've so far had 23 different careers in my life, and becoming a career practitioner kind of gives me a very good lens to see that, oh, all these different careers and how they play a role in life. So yeah, this is where I am. And since then, I have worked with government organizations, the Territory Education Commission. Then after that, I worked with the TEC for 4.5 years, where I was responsible for helping migrants and international students get their first break in New Zealand, so which was a project funded by the Ministry of Business. And I looked after mostly the Hamilton region. So I got an opportunity to work with so many international students and migrants. And the best part was I worked with them when they completed their study, right? So there was this big mismatch. Like every student, like at least 70% of students, they would say that we wish we knew this before we came here. Like we were not aware of this. Just 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. And many of them were not prepared mentally. Many of them were asked to do a study because of whatever reason, because we come from collectivist societies and other people make decision for us. So there was this huge gap into the reality setting, the expectation, and what is happening. So EduVenture was born in 2017, and I've been working with international students with the truth. What is the reality as is? It's no sugarcoating. And I haven't made much money with it, but I have been able to help a lot of people. And yeah, and that was always in the background with the work that I did, because it was the purpose of my business was not to make money, was to create awareness about you should be knowing where you're coming, and it's not what you see, it's not what you're told, it's different, but you should
Yeah.
be ready for it. So how do you prepare for it? So yeah, that's how I got into EduventureNZ, and I've been and EduventureNZ now is the first and the only organization company that has a foreign mark license. So I'm officially the ambassador for the New Zealand story, which means the workshops that I deliver are authentic, are quality, and are approved and certified by the government. So which gives me that it gives me that pride that yes, it's a earned thing, and Adventure is just me, just one person. So it's a very interesting journey. I was in India recently, and yeah, it was a very interesting journey to come through that and come out on this side. And on the other hand, I also have another business which is called Prana Inspire. That business is primarily again more of a social impact. So where I work with solo moms from small regions. So I worked in like very small villages and communities where solo moms don't have access to anything. They only think the minimum wage is the only way to go ahead. But I introduced them to high paid employment, high paid careers like engineers. So three moms I worked with, one has become an electrical engineer, one is studying marketing and sales, one is studying to be a youth worker. So kind of helping them find pathways into high paid employment. And this is all on my own. So I haven't been paid by anyone for this. I've done it with my own love. And so far, I've helped, I think, 9 moms get into full-time work, which is 9 moms and 16 kids. So far, their lives have changed. And so Prana Inspire does this. And I was also lucky enough that in my career, I was shoulder tapped for a lot of opportunities, which which is what I try to teach migrants that, hey, for us, for inclusion begins with I belong. When you go somewhere, you need to feel I belong. And the more we have that confidence in ourselves, the more we shut the noise. I think that is the opportunity for us to truly shine and show who we are as persons rather than constantly thinking of ourselves as migrant, because I really want every migrant, and I dislike this term migrant. I'm going to start this revolution called Un-Migrant me, because I am not a migrant. I can go to any country and settle. I am not here for the money, because I was making way more money in India than I'm making over here. And there is a reason I'm here, and you see the reason, it's behind me, and this is what I came for, and this is what I want. And since the time I've been here, I'm not just involved in work which is giving me money. I'm involved in a lot of volunteering, a lot of activities. So I've been a chair for a youth organization called Seed Waikato for almost a year. I've served on the board for many years. I've volunteered in many organizations. So yeah, as a migrant, I think I've added a lot of value to New Zealand, and I'm proud
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I belong here. Yes.
I love that. I love, first of all, thank you for sharing all that. There's so much there to talk about and so much to unpack. But I love the way you ended that with I belong. And I guess also the other thing that we all face is just the label migrant straight away. By adding the label migrant, it just mentally puts us in the back foot as well. And
Yeah.
also it allows someone else to have that hierarchy. As you said before, I think about my parents. I'm from Zimbabwe, and my parents live there still. And I still remember they were looking to come to New Zealand many, many years ago when I first came. And my mother's a doctor, and my dad is a med lab scientist. And both of them were told that their qualifications would not be recognized in New Zealand, because of whatever, and because they're migrants. So they both chose not to come because they're like, okay, we've been practicing in our fields for 20, 30 years, and
Mm,
now we're being told by a policy somewhere that, you're not worthy. So,
mm,
you think about that and you go, right, cool, how many times do these labels actually affect? Because for them, they're like, okay, cool, we're not worthy, we're not going to come back. Why would we do that there? And like you said before, they had a choice and they chose just to stay back in Zimbabwe and live the life
mm,
that they want.
mm.
So labeling is really, really powerful, really
Yeah.
powerful.
Thank you. Yeah.
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 And the other thing I want to talk about is one thing that I noticed has come through really with everything that you have shared is the work that you do is causing generational ripple effects.
Mm,
And I like this is a term I like to use when I work with young people, when I work with in coaching. I'm like, what is your generational ripple effect going to be? Is it going to
mm,
be positive or is it going to be negative? And I just let people sit in that there. And as you speak of all the things you've done, you mentioned the three women that you've helped that are doing stuff at the moment, but it's not three, it's three times whatever is going to be coming through in their
yeah.
in their lives, which is really
Yeah.
beautiful. Which is really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
thank you for that there. Thank you for that there. But I want to go right back to where you spoke about your parents and the migrant exploitation. That happened to your parents.
Mm,
What made you want to come to New Zealand to go actually? Hey, I want to actually change that. You could have gone anywhere in the world. You could have gone
mm,
anywhere in the world, but your parents are your parents and you see them struggling.
mm.
What was the fire that lit you? If we take away the other two things of being a farmer and you know, about recovery, seeing your parents basically being told, "Hey, you're working hard." What made
Mm.
you want to come back to this country that treated them so badly?
Hmm. Thank you for thank you for going back to that. So my parents were here when I was 19. I have two younger siblings, and obviously they were here or through family connections, have someone has invited
Yes.
you here, you work with us and blah blah blah. And that's how they came here. And they lived in a garage. They kind of did all the odd things that didn't get paid. And then when it was time to renew, it didn't happen. So they came back, and that actually led to their separation. So that led to the separating, and a family kind of uh it was destroyed because of that, And and there were a lot of things, and that's when I tried to commit suicide. That's when I was lost as a teenager. I had two younger brothers. So after that, after I recovered from that, I kind of went to a hill station. I'm not sure if heard of
Mhm.
Mahabaleshwar in India. So when I was 23, I eloped alone to a hill station by myself, and I lived there for 2 years in the forest. And there was an elderly couple, and they had a farm. And I said, okay, I'll work on your farm, and I'll stay here. And they were pretty nice. And then eventually I got a loan. It was just random. Like I applied for a farmer's loan so I could build a small, tiny house there on their land. So I don't pay them rent. And when the house is built, they will keep the house after I leave. So it was really nice. It worked out very well. And I lived there for almost 2 years. I was doing strawberry farming, and I spent my days there. And I hardly made any money, probably nothing, but I was that was the best time of my life. I'm like, this is who I am. This is for me, staying close to nature is everything. This is where I would like to be. But then I had to come back. Obviously, you want to earn money and come back. And you can't live like a farmer forever in India that time. So yeah, and then the reason why I decided to come to New Zealand was my mom and I would say, she said, "Oh, you can't, I wanted to do my master's." And after my head injury, especially, I had to look at doing something different because I was deaf. I was just questioning myself, like, sometimes when you come out of a head injury, you you're lost. And living in India, the job that I had, they made me redundant because I couldn't go back to work for almost a month or 2 months. So I was like, okay, I need to look at something. So I said, okay, let's sell the house, let's pay some fees, and where should I go? And US never appealed to me. US was never appealing. Canada was never appealing to me. Australia, no, because there's snakes, and I'm very scared of snakes.
I love the reality. Yeah.
Yeah, and New Zealand was always there, like, I'm going to prove it, that you can go without anyone's support. And I'm not going to call any family member here and not going to get anyone's help. I'm just going to go there by myself and see if I can do it. So, yeah, I got my admission. I said, cool. and I applied for my residency on my own without any help, and I got it within 3 weeks. I said, cool. That's when I called up all the extended family and say, hey, I'm in New Zealand. I'm now a resident. So, nobody can say that we helped you and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, New Zealand. And it was actually for my mom, because she always wanted to live here, and she had a dream of she was a makeup artist, a bridal makeup artist, and yeah, she wanted to come here, but unfortunately she passed away 2 months after I came here, and she
Oh,
was just 52, and it was so sudden, like she had a stroke, and I thought, no, she dropped me to the airport like two months ago. She's very healthy, fit, and within a week I lost her, so I couldn't even go back to say goodbye to her. So yes, so then it was like, okay, I'm not going back. I'm going to stay here because that was my only link to so
yeah.
close to India. Yeah. So that's why I
Yeah.
chose New Zealand, and to recover obviously from my brain injury, because the doctor said that I need extra oxygen for my brain. So I'm like, okay, New Zealand ticks all the boxes right now, so let me go here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing because with every story there's a strong why,
Yeah.
the strong why for you was your mother. This is all the other
Yeah.
things they happen and we go right cool. The strong why, which is really beautiful to share and a good testament to
Yeah.
her watching down and you're going, actually, hey, look at my daughter, she's here, she's getting her oxygen, but also just changing lives,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
really, really, really
Yeah.
awesome. So thank you
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sharing that there.
Yeah.
And as you think about your journey, you've had, lots and lots of different experiences. What would you say is your biggest highlight over the last 23 careers plus the one, maybe not the career, just you being you?
My biggest highlight,
Yeah,
as in keeping me on. I think for me, it's always when I feel my life is like a trampoline, the lower I go, the higher I go.
yeah,
So I think I use that as an experience to, okay, this is the lowest, like now it's only going up, it's not going to be uh any more lower than this. And I think my biggest highlight of my life so far is my daughter, which she was very unexpected and a surprise baby. But she teaches me lots of things. In fact, I am learning so much about communication from her, and that I'm, there are so many things, and I also feel, as now that I'm in this place as a migrant, I feel quite proud of myself that when I get shoulder tapped for opportunities, when I have roles that are created for me, I feel it's a great not just a win for me, it's a win for a lot of us. It's a win for all of us. So those are some of the things that I really look up to. Yeah.
I love that,
And,
and
and
sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
sorry. And one more thing. So I've been involved in corporate training recently. So I'm working with uh, one of the companies as a subcontractor. So I get to train a lot of big companies and leadership teams. And one interesting thing I cannot ignore that is I'm the only Indian in most of the rooms. And in fact I walk in and I say I'm very brave, and everyone laughs. And I'm the only Indian. And I do ask them. I say, would you have asked me to train if I was not coming to this, if you would you have chosen me to train you?
yeah,
And their answer was no, right?
yeah,
Would you choose me to train you? Like, hell yes.
yeah,
So, that judgment is always there. I'm teaching communication skills, I'm teaching leadership skills, and I'm teaching is based on my experience, my knowledge, my passion, and my obviously my qualifications. But it's all ignored because I'm an Indian, right? But once they have seen how I'm doing, once they see how I connect with them, they want me to train them. So this is one thing that, and I actually openly challenge them and I tell them that this is how it is. I said, next time, don't do that. Don't judge someone by
yeah,
their name or by their ethnicity. Yeah.
yeah. That's so true because it's so powerful that you say that because there's two questions. They're like, hey, would you have chosen me? No. Would you choose me? Yes. So what is the disconnect there? And as you said before, it's a bias. It's that prejudgment based on whatever. It could be
Yeah.
the fact that you're Indian. It could be the fact that you're a woman as well. There's the
Oh,
other
yes.
there's
Yeah.
the other angle that comes in, right? So the double whammy of
Mm.
women and a person of color, which can
Yeah.
affect so many judgments.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing you asked me, what is very proud moment for me is, yeah, I'm in a very interesting intersection of life. not intersection, I would say experience, where as a migrant, not only do I work with international students and migrants, I equally work that closely with EVs and communities.
Yeah,
So I work very closely with Maori Pasifika and Atangata Whenua, and I'm very well connected with the community. So I bring this lens of Tau Iwi from both, like I'm seeing this and I'm teaching about the Treaty of Waitangi from a multicultural perspective. So it's a very interesting blend because I see two New Zealand. I see Aotearoa and I see New Zealand, right?
yeah,
Because as an outsider, we only see, oh, it's white New Zealand. But when you come here, you still don't see the collective part of New Zealand unless and until you are a part of it, like how
yeah,
I am involved in the community. Because if I'm not, like majority migrants are not involved in the community, they will always see that the superficial, this,
yes,
yeah. So that is one thing that I really, really feel that has been a very good learning experience and a privilege to be known in fact I was very honored to be a guest speaker at a marae, and I had a proper welcoming at the marae, and it was such a honorable thing to, yeah. So yes, I
yeah,
get to see both sides of New Zealand. Yeah.
yeah. That was my next question. As tangata te reti, you are navigating two worlds,
Yes.
and whenever I think about my Maori colleagues that I work with, they teach me so much. But I think about there's so much similarity between Te Ao Māori and Indian culture. In fact, Te Ao Māori and any indigenous culture, there's so many similarities, but also, as you said right before, the same challenges through
Mm,
colonization that has affected
yeah.
every indigenous culture around the world. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
And, as you said before, if you're not educated, not told about it, you just
Yeah.
think your world is the only world that has that. But actually, if we segment it out, it's actually happened globally.
Yes, it is. It is. So one thing I can say proudly that so far I've worked with 250 plus Maori students, and there is two things that I tell them to do when we finish is as a gift to me is they will stand up against racism and they will look after animals. So yeah, there are two things they promised me. So I think they will be doing that. Because see, you cannot, there are people, these educated people who are racist. Like I was at a networking event last year in Hamilton, and I was with Aroha. In fact, Aroha means in Sanskrit, which is the ancient language of India,
Yeah.
Aroha means ascending with knowledge.
Mhm.
And in Maori, it means love and compassion. So
Yeah.
I kept her name as Aroha. So I was at this networking event, and this gentleman asked me, "So what brings you here?" And before I could answer, he's like, "You must be in the cleaning business." Uh, I'm like, "Yes, you got that right. How did you guess?" He was so happy because he guessed it right.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I said I clean people's mental blocks, I
Yeah.
clean them, I clean their heads. But that kind of bias is, it's everywhere. Like another networking event I went to, and I'd recently got a job as a workforce development lead for the entire Waikato region. And I go to this networking event, and these two ladies who work with the migrant services, okay, they have been career counselors, and they're white career counselors. They teach English language to refugees. And the first question they asked me was, "How did you get this job?" And then the other one had to just elbow her and say, "Don't ask." Oh, we mean to say, um, it is really nice. Congratulations. I said, "You've done the damage already. It's okay. Thank you very much." So
Yeah.
it's everywhere. Yeah.
And that's the thing, with my LinkedIn post yesterday that I posted, I've had so much comments about it, and somebody sent me a message. She is Irish and Scottish, and she says she faced this. She's white, but she goes, "I face the same racism because of my language. The language. As soon as people hear me speak, they go, 'Oh, we don't want to talk to you because you're not from New Zealand. You are not one of us.'" And I was like, "This is so interesting." But the labeling happens, it could be skin color, it could be the tone of your voice, it could be whatever it
Mm.
is. It just
Mm.
comes through. How did you
Yeah.
how did you get this job? How did you get this job?
How did you get
Uh,
this job? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we have five layers. For me
yeah.
as a brown woman, I have five layers. One is the for white male, white female, and then obviously we had Tangata Whenua, which full respect they should be. And then we have our brown men, which have
Hmm.
their own little pods. They very, very much about
Yep.
the masculine energy. And then last you get your turn. So if in that turn where I am today, I feel I've worked five times harder than an average white male. It's to get
Yeah.
where I am today. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love those layers because, we think about where do we sit in that layer? Where do I sit there as a male, as a brown person? Where do I sit there? And what biases do I bring in from
Mm,
the world that I come in, plus
mm.
the media that I intake of whatever it is, and then the conversation that I have is going to affect it. And that
Yeah.
happens with every one of us. But how many of us actually stop and think about it?
Yeah. We don't. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. We just go, okay, yeah, no, no, we're all good. We gave them a chance. Hey, we gave them a chance.
Hmm.
Isn't that condescending straight away? I gave somebody a chance.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, it's not giving a chance. Like I worked in so
Yeah.
many government organizations. I've applied for internal promotions. I've never got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
and see, when people apply for jobs, they apply, they don't get it, they just say, oh, bad luck. What I have been doing is every time when I apply for a job, I keep a track of it and I will check on LinkedIn who got that job. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
95% of the time it is to a white person
Yeah.
who is less qualified than me, who does not have the skills. And yes, so it is, it is, it is so clear. They just don't say it, but it is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, what have you done? You've created your own business and
Yeah.
you're creating your own generational effect, which is really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
But as you navigate, you work with migrant students, what
Mm,
is the one thing that you see? Why do they come to New Zealand? I know why I came to New Zealand. As you think about, and it's always fascinates me, because the world is open now. If we take away, obviously
mm,
cost is a big thing.
mm,
And when you talk to your migrant students, what
mm.
what brings them here? And I guess what is the most random answer you've received?
This is a very fun thing. Like when I go to students, and everyone has to write a statement of purpose
Yeah,
before you come here. Why do you want to come to New Zealand? And every student will have the same. I want to expand my horizons and I love the outdoors, so I want to be in New Zealand. Then I ask them after 6 months, how many outdoor trips have you made?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so there is a big mismatch of why they want to come here. Those who want to come here after having a successful career, like all settled, they've left their job as project lead or project manager, it is because they want a good work-life balance. They're
yeah,
frustrated. It's too fast. And I just went to India, and last month I've returned. It's very fast. It's very fast, and you don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for your family. So I think majority of those who come here, it's not for money. Remember, New Zealand is not for money. You can
yeah,
make way more money other places. In fact, nowadays you can make India a salary of 70, 80 lakhs, which is what? 100,000 New Zealand dollars in India with
yeah,
more support and less expenses. So it's not mostly for money, it's the quality of life and the way of living. So that is what brings people here. And also sometimes the false dreams of path to residency,
yeah,
shortage skills. Yeah, yeah. So that plays a big role. But I think mostly it is all about getting the work-life balance and the quality of life.
yeah. Um, yeah, the quality of it's quite funny you said that because I remember I had to write my own personal statement when I moved to New Zealand, and I reflect back about what I wrote. I'm like, do I actually do those things? I probably
No.
do that. Probably do that now after living here for 20 years. But when I first came, I was like, I just need to survive and pay the bills. That's all I need to do. Outdoors, psh, forget all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's so crazy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we spoke about the highs, and I loved your analogy of the trampoline.
Mm.
And I'm going to ask the question that is what is the biggest challenge? You mentioned the racism, you mentioned that, but are there any other challenges that are even bigger than that you've faced as you have navigated your time doing all the awesome things that you do?
Sorry, how do I navigate my time, you mean?
What one of the biggest challenges, so we spoke about racism, we've spoken about those, but is there any other challenges that you've had over the last 13 years of being not just in New Zealand, but I guess in your life. You've had your head injury, you've had
Mm,
your parents, you've had things happen in your world, and
mm,
if we do a scale of life, what is the
mm.
the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome?
I think the biggest challenge that I had to overcome was my loss of my senses and living with it because
Yeah,
it's being deaf. I take it lightly now, but it's not how it was 13 years
yeah,
ago. Not being I had a career. Half my life I spent in training people on perfumes, and I could identify if you're mixing two perfumes, what's the top note, what's the heart note, what's the base note. And now I can't smell, and I think that's very challenging. So right now I'm so lucky. Like Aroha is my nose, so I take to. I said, does this need washing? Does this need washing? So, so many things that I am so independent, so dependent. Like I'm just guessing. Like I have a gas alarm because if the gas is off, I can't, right? If the house is on fire, I will never know.
Yeah.
So I think those were my biggest challenges. I said hearing loss is my biggest challenge even now. But then I take it as, okay, I can't hear what people talk behind my back. So it doesn't matter anyways. But it has given me, I often say that, becoming deaf has made me a better listener. It has, or when you talk, or normal people talk, it's like you're looking at your phone, you're writing. But it's for me, it's like I have to look at you, I have to look at your lip movement, I have to look at what you're not saying, how you're saying it, how you're sitting. Did you just slouch? Did you cross your arms? So that really helps me to connect on a different level. And I think those were some of the challenges, and also having a baby, being here on my own, and no support system, which is quite challenging, quite challenging. And
Yeah.
I think we as a community can do better. We can do better, and I love how I see the Maori community. They have their amazing support system. They back each other up. They have these networking. They have these awards. I think we could do some more of that rather than having competition within the communities, which is
Yeah.
very, yeah, yeah. So I think those are some challenges that I think every person who's a solo parent would face in New Zealand, that you
Yeah.
just can't, like, I know that if I would have support, I would have done at least 10 times more than I'm doing right now. I have so many things that I can do. My brain's like, oh, I got this and this. But I said, Prats, hang on, who's going to look after Aroha? Like, okay, forget it. So,
Yeah.
those kind of things, that kind of, yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And the reason I come back to that is because, we mentioned the challenges of racism and all the isms, but at the end of the day, we're all humans in our own journeys, and the fact you have the physical challenge is a reality for you,
Mm.
and the fact that the support as well is a real challenge for you. And your own words are, you could have done ten times more,
Yeah.
what you're doing, and that's the reality. But what I've loved is you've accepted the fact, hey, I can do what I can do here, and your daughter is now number one, but
Yeah.
also your number one teacher, but also your
Yeah.
number one communicator, which is,
Yeah.
when we strip everything away in life, what's
Mm.
the most important thing, right? It's your loved
Yeah.
one, the one who loves you the most.
Yeah. That's it.
So,
I think that's
yeah,
what matters the most. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm going to shift focus just a little bit. EduVentures, what made you start that? And I really like the name, and I really love what you've done with that there. And the reason I ask is because it's like a niche in the market, but also the fact was that, everyone gets sold the dream,
Mm.
but no one gets told the reality until they
Yeah.
arrive wherever that place is. And I say this, and I there's parallels here, because when I was working in my last role, and I would guide people to come to university, and maybe 2 years into my role, I shifted the focus from, hey, university is fantastic, to actually, hey guys, university is hard.
Mm.
University is very hard. You're going to cry. The reality of university is not the pictures, the awesome ad campaigns that you see.
The Cathedral Cove and the Piha
But
Beach. No.
yeah, yeah. So what is the real? Yeah. So yeah, if we just, if we think about, what made you go, actually, let me talk about the reality of what moving to a new country is like.
Oh, cool. So what happened when I came here? So I started my study after 10 years. So after it was a break of 10 years, and I failed during my bachelor's three times back to back. I kept failing, very bad with accounts. I got my master's based on my work experience. Also, I did finish my bachelor's. But when I came here, what I started doing was, for me, I started understanding how to write, how to understand your academic life, because we come from a banking pedagogy in India or any Asian country where the teacher talks, you write, and you have a multiple choice question, you memorize, you rotate culture. And New Zealand was very different. It asked me critically analyze this. I'm like, I have never thought about it like this. So for
Yeah.
me to break it down, I actually broke down the words like, what does it mean by summary? What does it mean by critically analyze? And then while I was doing that, I started teaching my fellow classmates. And there was a point I taught them how to reference. And there was a point I had like 50 students in my classroom, and the
Oh
actual
wow.
classroom was empty. All
Yeah.
right. So, and these students were like, we should do it every day. I said, I don't get paid for it. So they created, my first role in New Zealand was created for me. It didn't exist. So they created a role of a peer tutor. which was a part-time role where I would teach students how to understand basics, how to do referencing. So this was students from Malaysia, from Russia, from Vietnam, every nationality. And they had all enrolled for masters, but they were in my class to understand what is the meaning of critically analyze. How do I even start this,
Yeah.
So that's when I realized that there is this basic gap of so many small things. Who do you go to? And that's when, after a few years, I said, I need to start something where I can actually ask people, like, people can ask, like, what do I do? How do I need to succeed? And then part-time job is not easily available. You're told from India that, oh, part-time job, but you don't get jobs. So many people went back. So that is one main purpose of EduVenture, is to give the reality, the truth of what is there, so that you're better prepared. It's not to put anyone off. It's to be that this is going to happen to you. These are the tools you will need. So here it is. So be better prepared. And that is why it answers your question, because my first job, I went to my community, Indian community, for a job, and they gave me a job as a dishwasher in one of the bakeries. I went
Hmm.
there at 5 a.m. in the morning. I remember it was at Britomart for 1 week, and after a week, I asked him for pay, and they said you don't get paid for training, right? So I'm like, nobody told me this, nobody was
Hmm.
explaining this to me. So who do I go to? I went to my community. People say, oh, go to meet Gujarati community, they will help you. I went to meet Gujarati community, he didn't pay me. So which means that there is this reality, this truth is missing from anywhere. How will I get, who will give me my first job? So I was like, no, there needs to be some truth told, because I saw so many of my colleagues had to go back home because they
Yeah.
couldn't find a job. They couldn't pay their bills, and they had sold their land and homes, and they had come here. So it is not a joke. We charge
Yeah.
50,000-60,000 fees. It is not a joke. In fact, day before yesterday, I was in the train Tihuya from Auckland to Hamilton. I had 5 students with me, 5 international students, and we were talking. And these international students are studying the green list of occupation, healthcare, construction, quantity surveyor, and they don't have money to eat food.
Hmm.
It's been a year and they are not getting a part-time job. The only job they got was picking up strawberries, 0.70 cents to pick up one box of strawberry.
Bucket. Yeah.
I'm going to write a post on that anyways. But there is, and when I told them, like, every student that I finished my workshop with, and I asked them, would this have helped you? They said this would have been so important for my mental health that I would stop doubting myself, because right now I'm doubting myself. I'm not good enough. Well, it is not me. It is
System. Yeah.
yeah, the system here. So I think that is one of the main reasons for EduventureNZ, that yes, to raise awareness. And I'm not very fondly accepted by people because I ruffle a lot of feathers with the
Mhm.
reality check. But yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, facts are facts, right? Facts are
Yeah, facts
facts.
are facts. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Facts are
yeah.
facts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love that because, we have all these rose tinted glasses here.
Mm,
And when we
yeah.
take them off, we go, actually, this is the reality. Talking
Mm,
about rose tinted glasses, I want to talk about something that, we spoke about racism, which is great.
mm.
But the thing that we don't speak about often is the exploitation of our own communities. You
Ooh.
spoke about it right now, and you said actually you were exploited by your own community.
Mm,
And it's really easy for us sometimes to go, the others, but also internally, our own people are doing the same thing, if not worse,
yeah.
sometimes. And I reference back because as you spoke about it, it reminded me when I first moved to New Zealand, I also struggled to get a job. I went to work
Mm.
at an Indian restaurant and as you do, and here's the crazy thing, I didn't even know what Indian restaurant. I grew up in Africa. I was like, hey, this is not a real thing. I didn't even know what butter chicken was. So they're like, hey, the only people that are gonna hire you are gonna be blah blah blah. So off I went. And yeah, they would pay you like $5 or,
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
And at that time you just go, okay, whatever, I just need money because I've got to survive.
yeah.
Yeah, but I love your thoughts about internal exploitation.
Mm. Internal exploitation is the
Yeah.
worst thing. And this happens with every community. The Chinese will
Yes.
exploit the Chinese, the
Yeah.
Filipino. It's always the case. And those who exploit are filthy rich. They
Yeah.
have so much, obviously, they've done it the wrong way. But yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
And you don't think twice, because if you don't have food on your table, you don't care if it is wrongly bought, or you want to feed your kid, you will go work for $5 because you need that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing we need. I mean, we see it in the media being, maybe we get caught, but I think, maybe it's on those communities to call that out as well, to call out
Yeah.
their own communities to go, actually, hey, what are you doing? You're actually making things worse, which is why I said people then start doing things that the others start stereotyping, and you go, all right, cool, this is It's humans, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and we have a role in that. We play a role in that,
Oh,
but
totally.
internally, but there is racism in within the community as well.
100%, 100%, 100%,
There is, if
100%.
I go to the Indian temple, I will not have many Indians smile at me. They look at me as if I asked them to pay my mortgage,
Yeah,
like just
yeah,
smile, be nice. Like
yeah.
why do we need to be with each other,
Yeah.
but yeah, so there is a lot of racism
It's
within the community.
so many layers, right? So many layers. I mean, if humans are complex, humans are
Yeah,
such
we
such
complex humans. Yeah, yeah,
complex,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is no, but hey, this is it also makes it exciting and interesting and
Yeah.
different and allows us to break rules.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, which is fascinating. As you are a rule breaker, which is great, which is why you ruffle a lot of feathers. Um,
Yeah.
how do you look after yourself? What is your downtime? How do you just like, oh, well, the world is doing all these things here. What is your this is how I
Mm,
just chill.
for me, it's always nature, and I've got this newfound passion for. I'm learning Sanskrit right now,
Yes. Yeah.
and I used to always get pissed with how the Western world looks at my culture. It's like, but then it's very selective. It's not always for everything. It's like for yoga, if you say yoga, oh, I'm a yogi, that's from my
Mm.
culture, by the way. And you cannot be a yogi eating your medium rare steak and a wine glass. That's not a yogi, first of all. And so I am right now wanting to, I obviously downtime is yoga, and I'm learning to meditate because with ADHD, meditation is it's crazy. So I am connecting with my own culture. I am understanding where I come from, and I want to know my roots, and I'm planning to become a yoga teacher. I'll be going very soon to India to get my teacher training so that I can teach yoga the way it is supposed, not teach, I will learn yoga the way it is supposed to be learned, not
Yeah.
the downward facing dog. It is not called the downward facing dog, it is Parvatasana, and there is a meaning behind it. So I want to skip the English version and straight learn from
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Where it
yeah,
comes
the
from. Yeah.
the where it comes from. And yeah, so that's what I want to do. For me, animals, so
Yeah.
looking after my dream is to, and it's my dream, and I'm working towards it. I'm very much close to it now. So, sometimes my end goal was to be a farmer. So
Yes.
I found this property. Uh, so I have my house in city. I'm such a crazy person. I just rented it out to someone, and I rented this space because I wanted to stay in the countryside to
Why not,
experience
right?
how it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I quite like it. So I think I will move to the countryside, and I dream to have a sanctuary, animal sanctuary. I used to volunteer for chain dog awareness, which was helping rescue chained animals, which was again one of my biggest achievements in New Zealand, to go to people where I find chained dogs and ask them, request them to whatever, whatever can be done for them. So I would like to have a animal sanctuary where I rescue animals. Yeah. So that's my long-term dream. Yeah. That is where I want to be.
I love that. I love it because of so many parallels. The first parallel is that learning about your own culture, because I tell this often to many people that, I learned here Maori, I learned here Maori, but to actually know my own culture, my own my own Hinduism, my own culture, not the religion, but the culture, the actual, what does it actually mean?
Yeah.
What does it actually mean for me as my identity? So
Yeah.
many parallels there. And also the second one is my grandfather was a yoga teacher from India.
Oh,
And I remember I always think about this that when I was 12 years old, he came from India and him and my grandmother, and he sat us in a room and he was teaching us yoga, like, the yoga with the Sanskrit terms and everything.
mm.
And I remember as a child, I was like, yeah, whatever, this is just ridiculous. And now I think back and I was like, it's now modernized,
It's
but
a way of life.
it's been practiced so many years. And my
Yeah.
grandfather was well beyond the
Yeah.
times. And I still remember also growing up, both my parents would have cold showers in the morning, since I
Yeah.
was at 4 o'clock in the morning, and now it's a popular thing. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
our parents or grandparents knew these things, but we, for some reason, like, whatever. But
Yeah.
now it becomes westernized. You go,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
it's now cool
Everything
all of
is
a sudden.
westernized. Everything that the Western culture talks, it's intermittent fasting and all that.
Yeah,
It's been there for ages, we've
yeah,
already held it. So it's like I want to cut that English part of it and just
yeah.
do it how it's done. So that is my aim at the moment. And as I said, with Aroha, I'm 10 times slower than I would actually be. So
It's
yes.
okay. But you also 10 times more lucky to have someone who's going to be
Yes.
learning from you and
Yes.
carrying it on forward, which is
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yes.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Almost an hour we've been talking, and I guess there's so much we could unpack and so much we could talk about, but I'm mindful of time. We have a question that we like to close our podcast with. Before we do that, anything else you'd like to add before I close off? Anything, any strong thoughts that you'd like to
Yes.
share?
I would love for this message for every migrant, every student is to stop doubting yourself, and stop doubting yourself when if you're writing a LinkedIn message, what others are thinking of you, if you're speaking somewhere, what others will think of you. Stop doing that because it doesn't matter. Just don't think about what others are thinking. Just think about how you make them feel. That's all.
Yeah,
If you
I
have
love that.
that in control, nothing else matters. So stop doubting yourself and knowing English. English is your second or third language. Don't doubt yourself. You should be proud that you can speak two or one or two other languages, which
Yeah,
makes your brain even more intelligent than an average brain who speaks only one language. So,
yeah.
yeah, be proud of yourself. Yeah,
I love that. I
yeah,
love that, and
yeah.
I love it because also when I do my coaching, I always tell people that everyone is going to have an opinion, no matter
Mm,
what. Everyone,
yeah,
everything you do in life, everyone's opinion, and it's you choose to accept it or not. And when you choose to accept it, you are limiting yourself. But if you choose to ignore it, then whatever. So I
yeah,
love the way you put that there.
yeah.
It's a great segue to our last question, which is you've shared so much here, and our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge. And if there's any
Mm.
piece of knowledge you'd like to share with our listeners from your world, any part of your world, what would that piece of knowledge be to put into our kitty and our basket?
Hmm. I would say always focus on these three things in life is leave a person happier than you met them, leave a place cleaner than you found it, and leave a project more productive than you started. So if you have these three things, success is going to be yours. Yeah.
I love that. I love amazing. Those 3 points are so beautiful, and I think I should all implement those into my world. Um, Thank you so much for jumping onto our podcast today. It's been really beautiful and so much to unpack, but so much also that you've just led me to think about, and our listeners as well to think about, your world, what you've gone through, but also the world that they see. Um, and I really love your last 3 messages. They're really, really beautiful. They're making me smile. But hopefully by you jumping on the podcast, you are living happier than you are when you first came on.
Yes, I
Fingers
am.
crossed.
I
Awesome.
am. I am.
Awesome. And also, I guess if people want to connect with you or people want to do some stuff with you, where can they do that?
LinkedIn would be the best place.
Yeah, LinkedIn, and we'll put your
Yes.
profile into our
Yeah.
show notes as well.
Yeah. And keep doing
Thank
what you do. Really needed. Baskets of knowledge is really needed. In fact, one of the things that I do in my workshop with I focus on the Te Whare Tapawa, and I have these different baskets from different countries, the jute baskets in South Africa, India, Maori, and these are your baskets. So thank you for doing that. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
worries. Thank you for jumping on. And this is just a platform for people to come and share their lived experiences. It's a lived experience that you shared. It's amazing lived experiences,
Thank
and
you.
can't wait for your book one day.
I am looking forward to
Yeah, but I
it.
know it's gonna come.
When Aroha is a little big and I am it, yes, I will be writing a book for sure.
Oh, fantastic. Again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you
Thank you.
for sharing your knowledge. For our listeners out there, hopefully you have found this podcast not just interesting, informative, but also to get you thinking about your own world, but also the people that you live in the world with, because we don't live in an individual world, we live in a community. So think about how you live in that community. Till next time, don't forget to leave the place happier, leave the place cleaner, and if you work in a project, leave the project more productive than it was when you started. Till next time, take care. Bye, kakite. Bye, buddy.
Takite.
Peace.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.